Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking venture capitalist Joe Lonsdale's absolutely fascinating, wide-ranging vision for our technological future. We're looking at a framework that pushes back hard against modern pessimism, mapping out how artificial intelligence, advanced infrastructure, and biotechnology might actually be setting the stage for an era of incredible growth and prosperity.
So, let's jump right into the big one, right? The ultimate question surrounding artificial intelligence and the future of our workforce. It's a debate we hear constantly. Are we heading toward a dystopia of mass unemployment where robots do literally everything? Or are we standing on the threshold of an unprecedented economic boom? To break this all down, we've structured our explainer into 5 key areas today: a new industrial revolution, upgrading government and defense, tech and civil liberties, accelerating future innovations, and finally, rebuilding civic society.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, a new industrial revolution, looking at historical cycles and the future of work.
Let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Lonsdale argues that we are in the very early innings of a massive AI-driven industrial revolution. And he pushes back against the skeptical mindset by comparing today's job destruction to historical cycles. Think about it. If we had banned farm tools centuries ago simply to protect manual farming jobs, we wouldn't have the immense societal wealth or the free time to produce digital content like this very explainer today. We'd all still be out in the fields. Embracing automation is the engine that actually enables entirely new, unforeseen industries.
And that brings us to a pretty wild stat. Lonsdale points out that roughly every 90 years, America essentially destroys about half of its jobs. It sounds completely terrifying on paper, I know, but counterintuitively, that process makes society vastly wealthier through productivity growth. When you can do way more with way less effort, the standard of living for the median worker absolutely skyrockets.
Moving on to Section 2, upgrading government and defense and applying AI to some seriously modern problems.
So, stepping away from the economic philosophy for a minute, let's look at how this powerful tech is actually deployed right now at the highest levels of government to solve massive bureaucratic headaches. Drawing on its roots in PayPal's early anti-fraud tech, Lonsdale explains how platforms like Palantir can root out fraud in massive healthcare entitlements. By taking fragmented NGO data from the Treasury and cross-referencing it with Medicare and Medicaid records, AI systems can instantly spot where the spending is misaligned and automatically flag potential fraud. It's like finding a needle in a massive bureaucratic haystack, instantly.
But to pull that off across giant, messy government agencies, you need to understand a core foundational concept: ontology. Now, what does that actually mean? Basically, it's a technical framework that translates incredibly chaotic, siloed data into one common language. Without an ontology, your AI is totally useless because the data is unreadable. But once that data is organized, advanced AI applications can synthesize complex information almost in the blink of an eye.
Now here is where things get really sci-fi, but it's happening today. Modern targeting systems can combine completely different intelligence streams to automatically pinpoint global threats. By pulling in shipping and logistics data, matching it with external camera feeds, and running an AI model, like Anthropic across that ontology we just talked about, defense agencies can uncover hidden dangers. We're talking about finding a remote missile facility that would have taken human analysts years, if not decades, to piece together. Just incredible.
Which naturally leads us into Section 3, tech and civil liberties, or as we like to call it, watching the watchers.
Okay, so with all this massive data tracking, you're probably thinking, what about my privacy? And honestly, it is a massive risk and a genuine concern for everyday citizens. But the source claims that Palantir was actually founded as a civil liberties company. The goal was to replace untracked government databases with strict, rule-based systems. There's a stark difference here. Legacy systems allowed unlimited access with zero tracking, super vulnerable to abuse. Modern data platforms, on the other hand, are built entirely around strict permission rules and permanent audit trails that track exactly who is looking at what data.
The whole argument here is that from this perspective, better technology doesn't actually destroy privacy, it protects it by holding those in power strictly accountable. If every single search query is logged permanently, you create an environment where the watchers themselves are actually being watched.
All right, shifting gears to Section 4, accelerating future innovations, specifically looking at aviation and biotech breakthroughs.
Let's see how this data revolution is spilling over into an explosion of consumer and medical technology right now. We are effectively pulling the tech of the 2050s into today.
AI is accelerating physical engineering at a staggering rate. Take advanced aviation, for example. Before AI, redesigning a complex aircraft took 3 full months. Today, with AI-assisted modeling, those same complex redesigns happen in a single afternoon. That is a total game changer for how fast we can innovate in the physical world.
Lonsdale points to these physical breakthroughs as proof that we're finally breaking out of a really stagnant, bureaucratic era to build tangible, futuristic infrastructure. I mean, look at what's happening. We have electric vertical takeoff aircraft actively being tested by Joby Aviation. We've got incredibly light hydrogen fuel cells showing 6 times more efficiency. And we have the Boring Company literally digging massive underground tunnel networks in Vegas and Austin to solve city gridlock. But it's not just transportation. He highlights peptides as the next massive frontier in healthcare. These are short chains of amino acids that are triggering a total biotech revolution. In fact, he notes this specific medical industry is currently growing even faster in revenue than AI. It's heavily focused on life extension and treating aging at an epigenetic level.
And here is a number that will blow your mind: 30%. According to the source, early epigenetic aging treatments have already increased the lifespan of lab rats by 30% while keeping them biologically young. If, and it's a big if, but if that translates to human biology, we aren't just talking about a longer life, we are talking about radically shifting the quality of life in our final decades.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Rebuilding Civic Society, covering infrastructure, incentives, and our cities.
Because let's be real, all this incredible technology, flying cars, life extension, AI, it's totally useless if the physical communities and cities we live in are degrading. Without taking political sides, we can look at Lonsdale's framework here. He contrasts regions supporting a fast-paced build and engineer mindset against those he feels are stifled by a bureaucratic culture. He argues that areas leaning into engineering are drawing in talent and solving infrastructure problems, while areas stuck in bureaucracy get bogged down by special interests and regulations that just halt actual progress.
His main point is this: regardless of whether a state leans left or right, we must urgently figure out how to make major hubs like Austin, San Francisco, and New York functional again. They have to be the actual working centers of our civilization.
So how do we do that? Well, he proposes some pretty radical, tech-enabled incentive structures to force government accountability. Imagine this system. A citizen reports an illegal encampment through a portal. The city then has exactly 2 days to resolve the issue. If they fail, the citizen receives an automatic property tax discount. It directly ties your tax bill to the city's ability to enforce local laws, literally giving the government immediate financial skin in the game. Fix it or lose the tax revenue.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer, but I want to leave you with a massive question to chew on. While AI can redesign a jet in an afternoon and biotech can potentially extend our biological lifespans, can technology truly fix the incredibly complex, inherently human flaws within our society? Can tech solve our politics? Or is that the one frontier we still have to conquer completely on our own? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the techno-optimist's vision. See you next time.